In this video, I'd like to look at a bash script with some variations on a for loop, and then also show how to run the bash script in a couple different ways. Okay, so here is the script. It starts with the bin bash, the shebang bin bash, and that's saying where the bash code is located on this. It's a virtual machine with Ubuntu on it. I'm echoing out, doing backslash, minus n. So I'm not going to get a new line. And I'm saying the sum of the numbers from 0 to 100 is. And I'm declaring a variable sum and set it equal to 0. No $signs when you're assigning a value to a variable, and no spaces on the equal sign. Okay. Now here's the for loop. And this is one version of a for loop. And so it's like double parentheses. And then this is a rather sort of old style of loop. Take the variable I and set it equal to 0. Have I less than or equal to 100 and I plus plus. And then we see maybe some weird things in that the I equals 0, the assigning within the for loop is different than the assigning on line 3, which didn't want spaces. So I don't know, it's sort of like an open source and people alter to different people defining things. And so you have to expect more than one way to do things and maybe even some inconsistencies. But okay, but this is a way to do a for loop, but this is a running program. So we're starting at the counter I at 0. We're going up to and equal to 100. We're incrementing the counter by ones. That's the plus plus. And then so you establish the in the double parentheses the beginning and the end of the for loop, and then you have the keyword done, and then between the do and the done, that defines your block in which your iterations occur. And so we want to do some addition. We just want to add up all these numbers. So on the right-hand side of the assignment statement, we have $sum and $I. So that is, when you want to retrieve the values, you put in the $sign. We're using the keyword let, which is sort of forcing us to do the addition rather than some kind of concatenation. And then when we get that value, we're signing it back to sum. And then in 7, we're echoing out sum. So in 9, we're just sort of starting all over again. We have echo minus en. So the E is saying allow for escape sequences. So it's going to recognize that \n and give us a new line. On the other hand, we also have the N option, and that's going to say when we reach the end of it, do not give us the automatic new line character of an echo. So the answer will stay on the same line as the statement. And this is just, so again, in 10, we're assigning the sum to be 0. And this is in 11, we're just saying a different style of for loop. So we're sort of establishing, I guess I'll call it a range of numbers in these curly brackets from 0 to 100 going up by ones. So it was curly 0, period, period, or dot, dot, 100, dot, dot, 1. So start at 0, go up to 1, go by ones. And this sort of establishes a range. And then we have the do done and establishing the block of iteration. And again, let sum equal $sum plus $I. So that is the second sum. So those are going to be, they're just two different ways of writing the same for loop. This is sort of an old, I don't know, like C kind of style of for loop. This is maybe a little bit more modern, sort of taking a range approach. And then it's just showing you within this range approach that I can go up by something other than ones, so I can go up by 2. So I decided to only go up by 30, and I'm still adding up the numbers. So, but I'm starting at 1, and I'm doing by going up by 2. So I'm going 1, 3, 5, 7. So I'm adding the odd numbers, and I'm echoing out within the loop this time. So I won't just see the answer. I'm going to see the sum as we go. Okay, so that's my program. I'm going to say, I think Control-Alt-T, that should bring up a terminal. This I can see here in my text editor that I'm in tilde, which is home documents. But when I opened up the terminal, it's in just home tilde. So I have to change directory CD over to documents. And then I'm going to do an ls, and there I have a number of things, including this program I called gauss.sh. And let's run it with a bash, use the command bash, then to run the script. And there is the sum of the numbers from 0 to 100 is 50-50. That was the first more C style for loop. The sum of the numbers from 0 to 100 is 50-50. That was more the range style of for loop. And then here are my odd numbers from summing the odd numbers from 1 to 30. So first it's 1, then it's 1 and 3, which is 4, then it's 1 and 3, 5, which is 9. So it turns out that the sum of the odd numbers are the squares. So that's just, a fun math fact. Okay, now I want to show you just, I'm going to do ls sale, let me do G star. So now I'm looking at more of the properties of this file gauss.sh. And specifically, I'm looking at the permissions. So it starts off, it's that dash rw dash rw dash r dash dash. That's what I'm looking at right now. It starts with a dash. That means it's a file rather than a directory or some other thing. RW means that the user, the owner, that's me, can read and write the file, and the same thing for my group can do the same, and then the rest of the world could just read this file. Now, what I'd like to do is make the make it so that I can execute the file. So I'm going to use the chmod command. So let me make it. And I'm going to work with the number version of a change mode. So I'm going to say that I want sort of all of the permissions. I want to be able to read, write, and execute. So the read is a 1. So these things are sort of yes, no. Can I read or can I not read? So I'm going to say a 1 would be yes, I can read. Another 1 would be that I can write. And a third 1 would mean that I can execute. So that would be 1, 1, 1. In binary, 1, 1, 1 is 7. So to give myself, the owner, all the permissions, I'm going to say 7. Now let's say I want my group to be able to run this program but not edit it. So I don't want to give them write, but I want to give them read and execute. They're going to need, in order to execute it, this is not, binary code. They're going to have to read it to interpret it and then run it. So I'm going to give them read, but not write, but execute. So that's 1, 0, 1. That's a 5. And then the rest of the world, I'm going to let them see it if they want. They can read it if they want, but I'm not going to let them execute it or write it. So I'm going to give them 1, 0, 0. I'm going to give them 4. And then I'm going to apply that to my program. Gauss.sh. I spelled Gauss inconsistently. There we go, Gauss. And then if I do the 2 arrow up twice to do the ls sale again, Now I see then it's RWX, all the permissions for me, R-X, read and execute for my group, and R dash dash, the rest of the world can just read it. And it's turned green, which is indicating the executable. And I can still, if I want, now I can still run it as bash Gauss. I could do that before, even when it wasn't executable. I could execute it with the keyword bash. But now I can also execute it by saying // Gauss. So now that it's executable, I can execute it without without the keyword bash. So that's what I wanted to show you, a little bit about running the program in 2 different ways, and a little bit about permissions, and also 2 styles of for loops within bash scripts. That's what I wanted to show you in this video. Thanks very much for your attention.